What is this? Parks and facilities that are donated to the city is named by deed restriction. I don't know. So they're basically restricting the donation to, it must be known to this. Is that what that deed restriction is? Okay.
Given property. Hello, someone online? That's not working. I'm not sure why. Can't get that one logged in. So we went to the old iPad. Yeah, somebody's online. Shut that one open. Did it need to be made a panelist, or was it council? I allowed them to talk. You're on mute. Okay, 7:02, let's call it to order. Scott, you have everybody in here, or Kate, we have everyone in here, and then can the person online hear us? Because they don't have their name written down, so you really don't know who it is, yeah. I guess we go on with an anonymous. Okay. It might come in and ask questions.
Do they hear us? Maybe it's, do we know if it's a commission member?
I don't know.
Just
a phone number. It's just a phone number, and they're on mute. If you're online and on mute, can you hear us? Phone number 4,000 ends in 4,000. Okay. All right. And first up, approval of June 2023 minutes. I'll make, or any comments first.
I was not at that meeting, so I don't vote, right? Is that correct?
I mean, if they made sense. I mean, I think you can still vote on whether they make sense or not.
And I watched the video.
Move to approve.
Perfect. I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It is passed. All right. Visitor, looks like our visitor is not going to speak. So on to old business naming policy. Yes, so naming policy we've been working on for the last couple meetings. Is everybody's got a copy of it there. We made a few textual suggestions and changes last time, which are incorporated in the documents you have in front of you. Something mine now has a whole bunch of extra characters because I did something. So reading over this, did you all have any other questions or suggestions or edits that you would like to make? And if you guys are happy with this and would like to move forward with it, then I would entertain someone making a motion to adopt this and send it forward to the city council, who will make the final adoption on it, but they're looking for your all's input and suggestion on this.
Can I ask a question? I've heard from a number of people, sort of unsolicited, in reference to this, that one of the motivations for the impetus behind this now was the Jared Welch's contribution to the scholarship fund. So does our passing this enable the council to name the sculpture park for Mayor Welch, or
The council can do whichever they choose at any time.
Right. But I mean, do they need this recommendation to operate one way or the other, or?
They technically do not need this recommendation to do anything.
Okay.
this was already in the works and plannings before it came forward. It's pushed this faster to make this have policy so that we have something to go by on not just that park, but any other parks and rec facility, parks, and naming on those. So yeah, definitely as we discussed some of that last time about, you all voted sometime mid-spring about when the Arts Commission had first brought a letter to this commission about renaming the park. You all had voted at that time that it was a little too early, too soon. You were looking for a full election cycle to go by. That is incorporated in here after last time. That was one of the things that we added in here last time under qualifying names and criteria, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I just realized you guys asked for me numbered last time, and I didn't do that. It's still on dots. On the 7th bullet point down, says an elected official living or city employee living shall not generally be eligible until 4 years have passed and said held office or were employed. Again, that's a shall generally, and the council still overrides anything at any time that they would like to do or not do. They have the final decision. That we create policy, but they always have the ability to override that policy for any given topic that they choose.
So I sensed from the people who approached me that it's kind of contentious, like there's people on both sides of this, and I just didn't know if we were stepping in it or if we sound as if we're making a recommendation one way or another, unknowingly or knowingly. I just am kind of ignorant of that, and I didn't know where we stood on that.
I think at the beginning, it was just the Arts Council just wanted to do it so that they could say that they did something while they were still, before their terms ran up, so that they can say they were the ones to give that to Jerry Welsh.
This is, from what I understood, this is just something that we can then, if someone were to recommend again, then at least the council, us as a group have some true guidelines to go by. Because when we made that decision prior to this, it was just discussion, that night discussion, here's where we land on it. So.
But I think we pumped the brakes because we wanted to do this first though, right? And I think that's at least for the arts
Right.
commissions.
I mean, we didn't immediately, the other option would have just been, woohoo, you go for it,
right.
and we didn't, we were like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Other than that, I don't think anyone else.
Yeah, we're not
Yes.
substantively recommending that part. That's up to somebody else, right?
I mean, you could at any time, and
Yeah.
especially once you pass this policy, you could then, this commission, likely any renaming of any parks would come before this commission for a recommendation. Again, y'all are an advisory board, and so the council would want your advice on that, but the council is the one that makes the final decision on it. So even if you said,
So it may-
yes, name it the Scott Davis Park, they go, you guys are crazy, he's a jerk, we don't want him at park, name a park after him.
So it could come back to us, like here's the
Absolutely could.
policy, and they go, okay, well, let's go on some names.
What's the protocol for that, Scott? I mean, in my tenure on this commission, we haven't really gotten big ask from the council, what's your recommendation?
So we've taken fees to them, fee structures over the years, pretty much almost every year. We take fee recommendations to them that I bring to you guys and say, this is my thoughts on what our fees should be. And then you guys vote on those and take my recommendation sometimes and disagree sometimes. And we present those however you guys vote on them. We take that to the council and then they say yes or no, you can raise fees, don't raise fees, hold the lines, whatever. That's been the majority of things that we've taken as a full recommendation to them. We haven't had any other big naming issues or anything like this. The last park that was really renamed was Ivan Crockett. Before that, it was named, I always get it confused, if it was Central Park or Bell Park. It went by both, depending on who you ask it. But that was mid-90s, I think, is when that happened. So we haven't had a whole lot of major recommendations to give. It's more of, you guys helping me point out things that you think we could do better, do worse, or not do worse. Don't do worse. Things we're not doing well, that we should do better on, or things that we don't need, or yeah, do worse.
But if we have a new park being established in our community, as
We're
we're
gonna need to
gonna do,
name that
we're
one.
gonna need to name that one, so. And that's again, my opinion is this is just something that we recommend tonight, hand off to city council to adapt or not. And then at that point, if we get another letter of recommendation from another council or group or entity, then that's where we start using this at that point. But as far as this and that particular request that came earlier, and then this are two separate things. This is not tied to that in any way. Am I correct on that?
I would say yes. I would say this would lay the framework for future discussions,
Right.
should that come back
If it
before you.
comes right back
Uh,
next month.
I mean, you guys voted on it 4 months ago or something to not move it forward at this point. And I took that to the council and let them know that, and let the Arts Commission know that. Because they were the ones who requested that you guys take a look at that, because they had, I believe they actually voted to rename it after Mayor Welch.
So we're saying, to that point, if we pass this as the guideline, we would then need to make another motion to say, based on this, we would approve the park being named after Mayor Jerry Welsh in what, a year or whatever, the 4 years since she left office.
We could do that. We could not address it at all.
Yeah.
And wait for somebody else to reestablish.
Yeah,
We
I would
could-
think they'd have to
We
ask
could
us
make
again,
that recommendation ourselves to go ahead and go forward.
because we said no,
think
then we
anything
developed a
would be
plan.
against
Yeah.
Now, if they decide to ask us again, we can look at the plan and say, based on our plan, we say no, or we say it's generally eligible, so we say yes, we can decide as a group then. But we wait for them to ask again before we make a second recommendation.
When the head of their commission reached out to us, though, I think we told them, hey, we'd be willing to entertain this again after this policy is in place. So I think, at least as a courtessy, they'll be let know that this is now established.
Yeah.
I believe everybody's waiting for this policy. Everybody's, I mean, they're not biting their fingernails, but they're all waiting to see what y'all come up with.
Do we need, I mean, because there's a little ambiguity there, I mean, we say 4 years, which would be 2024, which is barreling at us really quickly. I mean, do we reference the Jerry Welsh issue, or just say, here's a policy, y'all are on your own, or just?
I would make those two separate issues.
Yeah, because I was under the understanding, like you were saying, that it was definitely separate and it was for future, but if, because that one hasn't been decided, they could ask us. to next
Come
month
on back,
And
absolutely.
then it would say, this is what we think. So it kind of apply to that, but not like saying, this is for that. but
Yeah.
Just we're putting that in place.
So could I make a motion then to accept this and move it forward to the council for their?
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed. And then Scott, I don't know if this fits into old business or not, but the water feature. Okay.
So we have been doing some more research on the various pumps and attractions to put in there. We have found one that we like to move forward with. We are still, I was not aware of this last time we talked. I've been told by our park staff that we may need to address some drainage issues before we re-hook that up, since it hasn't been running for the last couple of years. That water rained down and went into a drain at the end of that little dry creek bed, which then goes underground and underneath the playground, and sunlight's kind of down that hillside. And at this point, I'm not certain that it's just a 4-inch black corrugated pipe, that there's not mice and rats and whatnots living in there, since there's been no really water movement going through there. So we need to have a plumber come out and probably cable that or camera that to see if that line is still good. But we have found the pump that we think will do well in that situation. Same type of system, hand, old kind of old school farm pump, the one that I think you've seen in Forest Park, basically the same one that's there. There's two different versions. One of them was roughly 5,000, one was roughly 3,000, depending on how high and the tank system on it. So the cost, that's just to buy the piece, assuming the drainage would cost a load to fix that, which I don't think it will. We should maybe be able to bring that in around 10,000 installed. So we are still moving forward on that process, but I don't have a date of install yet or anything like that. So, but it is moving forward.
And you said that money would come from existing budget, it's reallocation.
We'll find it somewhere.
It's so
That's actually way cheaper than the one that was in there. that used to break all the time and we can't fix.
Any other old business? Okay. I'm assuming the person on the call is not council personnel, is it? Or are we just gonna? All right, then on to you, Scott.
Well, this may be the shortest meeting ever because I thought the naming thing would go longer, so I didn't prepare a ton for you guys, but anybody's gonna complain about a short meeting, right?
Well, can I, real quick, I guess, maybe new business before I go to that. Going back to what we just did with this naming, it talked specifically about semi-permanent or not permanent fixtures within the parks being subject to a separate policy. Does that policy exist yet, or is that something we could be working?
As far as benches and things like that you're asking for.
Bench,
So
that sort of thing.
generally our benches and our memorial trees, those are the two things that we name right now, are for the life of the unit. So if you buy a memorial tree for a loved one or what have you, it's for the life of that tree. If that tree gets damaged in a freak windstorm 5 years later, that's that tree's life. Same thing with benches. Benches typically last 10 to 15 or so years, but at the end of the lifespan of that bench, then the naming right for that bench is no longer there. If you wanted to continue that, you would help fund that again, so that it's not an in perpetuity thing on those benches that we just keep putting the same plaque back on the benches or buying new plaques on the new benches. That memorial fund is partly set up to help us fund buying and putting in those new things, which we're getting pretty full of benches, especially in Blackburn Park, which is where everybody wants to put them. It's like, hey, why don't we always Blackburn? Let's put another bench there. It's like, well, you have 47 benches. We can sit down anywhere. So we do try to push people towards other parks if there's other ones that they enjoy. But I'm still working on another one as far as more marketing and advertising for hockey rink facilities and things like that. But at some point, ball fields, because we get comments about naming new ball fields, or some of the ball fields have names. These two up here have names, but the ones in Blackburn really don't, or something like that. Those are available too. I would consider those to not be semi-permanent. I consider that, it's not a whole park, but I would think that would kind of fall potentially into the same thing if there was, I don't know, some little league coach who coached for 30 years, and the community wanted to name the field after, that coach. That would be something that would fall
So
probably.
you think under the policy, we just.
I think so.
Yeah.
The other ones I think are going to be
So kind
really
of the other
minor
ones are
stuff.
more like plaque designations versus like a facility or a
Right.
structure.
Right. You're never going to refer to that as most people aren't going to refer to that as the Bob Ross table, you know, or
Right.
bench at the
Okay.
park, but
I see where
you
that.
you might say, oh, we're playing
I
at
mean, the title.
Bob's
is good.
Field tonight, you know.
The title is good,
Yeah.
city parks, recreational areas and facilities, kind of
Yeah,
covers
it
it.
covers all those mostly permanent things that, it may not be the whole park, like you said, but, you know, Dogwood Pavilion is a permanent structure.
Right.
That a naming on something like that would go for a considerable amount of time. So I didn't just tie it into this, but I see what we've covered.
Or even the fitness facility, you know, there are rec centers that have fitness facilities that are named after it's a Life Fitness facility, or it's the Mercy Hospital fitness facility or whatever, whoever might come in and want to make some sort of partnership agreement for something like that too. Doesn't happen often, but there are some. Usually when you're building new stuff, you get that money, not so much when you're 15 years old. Some of our stuff is, but if someone wants to rename the aquatic center, come on at you.
Okay, thank you for answering.
Since I definitely skipped over new business, any other new business?
This is just business, and I don't know where to put it, so I'll ask, it could be something you're gonna talk a lot about, Scott. I have just some questions I'd love to talk about the pool.
Yeah.
I figure that's probably gonna be part of what you talk
It will.
about, so, okay.
Give me just a second. I'll give you a bunch.
Give you a minute.
I'll give you a bunch of info on there, maybe, but I probably won't answer all your questions, so ask away.
So other new business, I don't know if you saw in the news where St. Louis City Soccer Club was going to join with American Family Insurance and the US Soccer Foundation, build 11 mini pitches throughout St. Louis County or metro area.
Didn't see that.
And when I read that, I thought, well, that new park seems like that would be a really nice option or possibility.
Yeah.
So I was just curious what the group thought. And then, you know, I've reached out to somebody that I know there to see who the contact person is, to see if we can get some more information about it as well.
The article, if I read it correctly, talked specifically, there is the city is involved with several locally. But there was another organization, the Soccer Federation or something, that was also involved. City specifically talked about underserved communities and things like that with at least their initial aim. So my thought were we probably don't qualify as something like that. I like the idea of the new
Yeah.
park because it's a lighted, the idea of these mini pitches are an enclosed, lighted, hard surface soccer field, but not walled like an indoor soccer field. So it's sidelines and out of bounds and so forth. But it's lighted so that you can extend nighttime play or whatever and just encourage that throughout the.
And I
So are
think
they
that,
like mini soccer field?
so it's a
How big
mini
is the mini
soccer
pitch?
field. They have a picture of it in the article.
Sounds cool. It does.
But I think that the location is gonna serve people in Maplewood, Shrewsbury, and Webster just by the area that it is. So it's not necessarily a Webster thing.
Right,
So I think it's worth looking at.
certainly.
And I think that the size of it is probably something that we could do in that small area.
Does it say what size a mini pitch is?
Well, I know that my kids go over to Clayton to Glenridge grade school and play. And it's easily could fit into that spot.
It's in there, you know.
You know somebody at City SC?
Yeah, one of the other Holy Redeemer soccer coaches is his title, but I reached out to him to find out.
49 by
Oh, wow.
32.
I think that there's, you know, still room for
pretty
the,
small.
for the greenway bike path and, you know, if they decide to do a water station or whatever they wanted to do, there's, you know, there's room for both. But, you know, we can find out more.
So next step would be for Scott, you to apply or just to get him more information?
Well, the next thing up, I was gonna tell you about was the GRG survey that's happening for the new park right now. So there is a survey out for the new park right now. It closes Sunday this week. So far, we've had over 1,000 responses, which is fantastic. GRG said they normally get about 350 responses, on surveys like this. So the fact that, and I asked them, well, is it, because they send it out to their whole email list. And everybody said, well, is it, St. Charles folks or whatever? She was able to go look it up by zip code. She said, your zip code is 90% of the 1,000 responses or something. So, the community's invested and given ideas about what should go there. I haven't seen all the final details yet. We reviewed it a little bit about 2 weeks ago. And it seemed that most of the responses were leaning towards keeping that park mostly natural setting, some nature-based play maybe. Obviously the Greenway connections going through, but really removing all the hardscape, old hardscape stuff that's there now, keeping in mind the floodway and floodplain that's right there and the flooding that we had along the creek last summer, and building something there that would be cognizant of that so that it doesn't continue to flood. So it'd be interesting to see what the final, when that's closed out next week, what those, that full survey says. Because it had some thoughts on there about courts and stuff that we showed. I don't remember exactly what the question said, but something about court play. Might have said basketball or pickleball or something. I can't remember off the top of my head. So, but the city pitch is a cool idea. And even if it wouldn't work in that park, I'd be interested in another location, that something like that. We don't have anything like that in our system now. So if you haven't done the survey yet, please take the time. It's only about a 5-minute deal. Please take the time to do so.
I'm letting you guys know that I haven't done the survey because I don't know the answer to this question, but can you access what people are saying? You can, because you.
I can't yet because
Okay.
I'm not the
They
GRG's
don't
the
make
survey.
that all available.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll they'll package it all up. It's a Survey Monkey, so they'll get the normal closeouts off that survey. They'll have that kind of stuff, but GRG will actually pretty it up more than that, and we'll be able to post all those details probably on the city's website. Maybe link it off our Facebook pages or whatever. And of course, that's just the initial public comments that we're accepting for it. We're still in design phase, trying to figure out what to put there and how to put it there, what will fit in that space, and all those good types of things. So, but I don't know that we asked for public input for a reason. It's not to say, oh, we want X, and then we just put in Y. Where am I?
So a question on that.
Yep.
And it goes back to everything else we're doing. If the survey says that they want pickleball, do then we have any input, or does that just go to city council as this is the recommendation? Because council will decide if it's gonna be pickleball or not.
Right, so after the survey comes in, then we will look at the survey data and continue working on some of that planning and design. And I would think that we would likely come back with maybe 2 different design concepts off of the top. There's a bunch of questions on there, so you can mix and match some of those things and put them together. Come back with a couple different options of what we could potentially see there. We'd show that, probably not ask for public input from the whole community on those. It would be a smaller focus group type of thing. Bring it to this commission, bring it to council to get a better sense of which one of those 2 to move forward with. And then the design team would continue to build that final design out, which would then still come back to council for final review. We've earmarked money towards it, but no dollars have been approved for it yet. So until we get that full design done, and council can make that final yay or nay on move forward with this plan F or whatever it is.
Right. And the Greenway has already offered to pay.
So they already bought the property and own it, and their budget is roughly $600,000 for that, just that parcel and the Greenway connection through it. We're at 150,000 into that, and then they're still looking at some other potential other partners. If the cost would go higher than that, then they would, seek some of their foundations that they work with and such, or, anybody else that would
Gotcha.
come forward for some sort of sculptural playground piece. I keep thinking something Instagrammable there would be cool. We don't have anything really like that in Webster, so I keep thinking like a big WG that would be cool. You could go, you could walk the kids down there and get their picture in front of it or whatever, and the backside of it might be a bouldering climbing wall or a little playground slide or something like that. That's kind of what I keep thinking, because it is a big entrance to Webster Groves coming in
Right.
down Big Bend. I think it ought to be something there that visually pops, even if it is nature-based, low volume, type of
Like the one in
stuff.
Buenos Aires, like they have the big BA and it's covered in leaves.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Something
Yes.
like this.
Something like that. Maybe on a smaller scale.
Humble brag there, Kate, but okay. Yeah. When I was in Caracas last fall. Yeah, something like that.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. On to the pool question. So council, 2 meetings ago, approved to move forward with a bond issue for the pool for spring of 2024. They approved the full replacement. So basically everything that we have out there now, updated and better. So 3 bodies of water, lap lane, 8 lap lane with diving tank, middle pool for the middle-aged kids with multiple slides, smaller pool for the younger kids, spray ground in there somewhere, and have the option to still put the indoor option on there to enclose the competition pool at a future date. They did take an actual vote on doing the indoor pool and the full replacement first, and it did not, was not successful. Then they voted on just the replacement. The replacement one did pass. So that's.
That was my question. So in that proposal, was it a 4-tank option where there would be a lap pool and then also 3 exterior pools, or would the lap
No.
pool be covered?
Covered.
Uncovered?
Yes, that
Or would it
convertible,
always be, it'd be convertible? Okay.
cover, well, yeah, some sort of covering. So it'd be an outdoor pool like it is right now, and then you'd be able to enclose that space of just the lap pool for the other 9 months of the year.
Okay.
That how you would enclose that has not been designed or anything yet. There was multiple options in the master plan, whether it's an inflatable bubble, so nothing would be there in the summertime, or whether it's some sort of structure. It's called Dynadome is one of them that kind of closes up the roof and sides all collapse in to form a building, but when it's opened up in the summer, you still have the edges on the ends, or whether it would be roll-up doors, mostly enclosed all the time with just roll-up doors. There's multiple different options. We haven't gotten that far because we're not into that design phase yet, but
There was a cost associated with it though, so I would have thought that it would have been at least a ballpark idea of what that was.
so they did put a cost on it for that. They were using the Dynadome version, and it was.
Which is the big giant one or the?
It's a full rigid structure. Looks kind of like a greenhouse when it's closed. And then the middle sections accordion out. So you just have the outside sections in the summertime. So you have the 2 ends would kind of be enclosed, or at least the concrete deck beside it would be enclosed, but the water itself would be open to sky.
So is that the cheapest indoor-outdoor version, is the Dynadome? Or did they figure out what would be the very cheapest way to get us an indoor structure?
If I may,
No.
I think the main reason it didn't pass from watching wasn't the installation cost of an indoor pool. It was the operating costs of a year-round facility.
Correct.
So, and that was gonna be hundreds of thousands of dollars annually.
It was only
That's-
$2 million
that's where-
more to get the indoor structure.
Right. And they, yeah,
But there'd be an an estimated operating loss of a couple $100,000 a year.
And that was based on a study, how was that conducted?
The operating loss. So I have cost of all the other pools in the area, as far as from Cape Girardeau to St. Peter's, all of them that have indoor pools. Nobody runs at a profit center. They're all running at a loss. Some of them in the 28% range, some of them up to 50 or 60% range.
This appear? They operate at a loss?
Every pool, every indoor pool
That
operates at a
giant
loss.
Depere center that people get dewy-eyed when they're talking about it.
Every indoor pool operates at a loss.
Wow, okay.
I don't know of a single one that operates at a positive. And our consultant, and that's all he does is design and build pools.
Now, I
Says
totally
every-
believe you, and I think probably personnel is
Yeah,
difficult, if not impossible, to come by. But, you know, then you see things like the Foss School and Goldfish schools popping up everywhere. You know, people are taking their kids into strip malls to teach them how to swim. And so, and then I just heard, I'm not gonna shout out anybody in particular on the desk, who said 3 different grown older men came in this week yelling because the pool wasn't open and they couldn't swim laps. So, right, right. But I mean, you wonder how many people in this
They're open on
community.
Friday afternoon.
Right, but you wonder how many lap swimmers in this community never swim here in the summer because they have to pay year-round fees somewhere else so that they can be lap swimmers. Are you one of them?
Yeah.
I would be too. Like, I just don't get my swimming in.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah.
yeah, the council, you know, when they were, and I thought it would be about a 25-minute presentation. It was about an hour and a half that
Yeah.
they discussed all this. And I think they asked very good questions and they had a great conversation amongst themselves. But one of the big determining factors in their vote, I believe, was that in the financial situation the city's been in the last couple of years with cutting lots of things to get down to budget, to turn in a balanced budget, building something that we know is gonna be a $250,000 operating loss every year was tough for them to vote for. Where do you find that extra $250,000 a year? The capital expense is not that big. It's significant. I don't want to blow that out of proportion.
Yeah.
Well, you guys will have to vote for it as residents to make it happen, but that's that capital expense, it will be a no tax increase bond issue for you all to vote for, but that doesn't include that operating cost. So, and they asked me, where did you bring that $200,000? And I was like, I think, so the 200,000 is really 400 to 500,000 that in expenses. A couple $100,000 of that would be covered by renting lap lanes, by selling memberships and such, but you'd still be at a loss of 250,000 is the consultant's estimate on what it costs to run the utilities and to staff it, and the going rate for lap lane rentals and that kind of stuff.
So why are they looking at covering it then? What is that to extend the,
That would be to make that an indoor pool that would be all year long. So the council voted to,
if they're not wanting it to be,
well, they're not.
so
So
why are they looking into that?
No,
We're not.
That was an option.
That was
They
an
voted on
Oh, okay. They
it. Two
voted
people
down.
wanted it, the rest of them did not.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they.
Is there any kind of assessment of what the citizens of Webster want? Like, is there any way to let them vote, with the increased costs?
So they're looking at that. At this time, I don't have an answer for that. That was one of the questions they asked the city attorney about, can you put multiple bond issues out there for that?
That would be fair. People in the community are willing to pay for it.
I think there's some difficulty in doing that at the same time, to write that two bond questions on the same thing.
Right.
Because you would write do you want to vote for the replacement value of the pool? Do you want to vote for a enclosure year-round pool? Well, if this one gets voted down, but this one gets voted up, then what do you do? Because you got to have the first one to make the second one happen. So I think there was not clarity on how you can do that. I have no way to figure that out. So
So when they said not at this time, did they say we're guaranteed to vote on this again in 1 year, 2 years?
there was no guarantee made. It was kind of left up as design it and build it, or ask the voters to vote for the bond issue to approve the replacement of what's out there now, with that design taking into account being able to make that enclosure. So not putting it in such a way that we wouldn't be able to build the new locker rooms that would be needed and all that kind of stuff that would need to be added on to make that year-round enclosure happen. And then, you know, if the city's finances improve and we're able to carry that type of.
Which they have, but people's thought process hasn't caught up to that yet. So people are still feeling like we're behind where we're actually doing okay. So it's really just bad timing.
Have they explored things such as corporate sponsorships or any
Okay.
kind of funding that the school system, like the?
That includes the schools being involved, would
So
you still
they
be at that
They
loss?
would ask them that, because they're
Yeah.
pretty strapped with Webster University and
Right.
Miami, you know.
Yeah, we talked with the schools. They were invited to the master planning process and sessions. We invited other local municipalities around us to see if they wanted to join in to make something happen. The schools participated, the municipalities didn't, but that operating cost includes anticipated rentals of the school teams renting the lap lanes for club team, not club teams, varsity club sports and things of that nature. Even with that, you'd still be at a loss.
They were all for it.
Yeah.
Because right now they're practicing at 6 o'clock in the morning at Webster University. And that's not easy for high school kids.
Well, and it's, you know, I'm just gonna lay this out here because I'm being so talkative right now, but we've got a swashbuckling football stadium going in. And if you just look at sort of gender equity in terms of sports, you got water polo, diving, swimming that are all gender neutral, you know, like you get everybody involved. And it just, as a community, I would think there'd be a lot of support for an indoor pool. And you have an aging population, and all these baby boomers, and their best exercise is swimming. I don't even know how many people would be avid swimmers in this community if they had the opportunity. I just don't want them not to get to vote. I don't want them to be placated with, oh, we can do this down the road, when really, in fact, we're not going to. It's just the way the game is set up.
I totally agree with you. I would say that it's more than a football field though. That's field hockey, it's
Right,
lacrosse,
I know, yeah,
it's soccer, it's
Yeah.
track,
okay,
and it's all boys and girls. So it is more than football.
yeah, that's true.
School district versus
Right,
City-
the
city
community,
parks.
yeah,
So
that was fair. Thank you for
No.
shutting my mouth on that part. You know, it's just-
they,
I was remembering all the football games I've seen there.
if I remember correctly, they left it with, we are going to approach the voters with the bond issue for a replacement pool as it's, or replace, an exact replacement or an equivalent replacement.
Correct. And they
But
are,
it has an option to be added to
Quote
it.
unquote, not doing anything to eliminate the, like you said, eliminate the idea that it could be enclosed in the future.
and along with that, the pool on that bond issue, they are also looking at the option of adding other parks and recreation amenities into that bond issue as well. So new roofs on pavilions, new playgrounds, new carpet in this facility, anything that's parks and recreation related, they're looking into that. They have not made any discussion or decisions on that yet, but I think there's some ability on the bonding numbers there, and I haven't met with the bond council folks, but to be able, the pool is about $11 million. I think there's some ability that you might add a couple extra million onto that to do other parks and recreation projects, which would certainly help Parks and Rec, but I think might also increase the vote If you've got people that maybe use the park but don't swim, or vice versa, you might create some more yay votes there. One of the things that I think will help is, I think I've talked to you guys about it before, is a new pavilion out there, kind of where the sand volleyball court is now. That would be able to be a band shelter, band pavilion, band something, call it what you want. Haven't got a good terminology for you, but something where we'd have a concert venue. Because there's really nowhere in Webster to have nice events like that with 2,000 or 3,000 people, but the field, you'd have a big enough space. We just need somewhere for the band to set up. So if we could have a pavilion there that could be used for bands, could also be used as family picnics, and would be fenced. We could figure out a way to fence it off, sliding fences going back and forth, so you could open it up to the ball field for that kind of stuff. You could also shut it off, and it would be inside the pool fencing then for swim meets, for swim team to use, or for if you wanted to have your kid's birthday party, you'd be able to have a bigger pavilion to have 50 kids come for the birthday party, that kind of stuff. So I think that would be really good, and hopefully maybe sway some of the, if there's artistic folk that aren't swimmers, maybe they would help vote for the bond issue to pass if we had some sort of concert venue. Because we're trying to stuff a lot of things into small parts of parks. The Baroque event's a really cool event, but it's in a really small section of Larson Park. You know, 500 or 600 people come out to that, but you know, you just don't have anywhere to do a nice concert venue. So they're still working on that. They've made no decisions on that yet. We haven't even really presented them the full list of options of all the other park stuff that I would like to see if we're going to go that route.
So if this bond passes, in theory, we could recommend for council to put up another bond issue vote in a year to impose the pool.
Sure. And there may be folks on council that introduced that before you do already.
If there was a system in place that saw corporate sponsorship, like, I don't think, city council's not gonna do it. We're not really asked to do that. It's like, there should be somebody though, because at other parks, you see a lot of corporate sponsorships and they get some cool stuff.
Well, and I mean, it's a stupid thing to say. Carly Kloss used to be on Webster Waves, and she was swimming up here. She did with my kids. Would she help sponsor some of the pool? I know
Seems like a Forever Forest Park, whatever that nonprofit
Yeah.
they have working there. You almost need a separate entity buffer that works with the city, with the private. I have no experience within that, but I assume that's probably a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, and again, you need to be big enough that it's not a 1-year thing, or it's big enough that it creates an endowment that would then fund that $200,000 a year, because that's what we're looking to do. So,
But if we came up with 2 million, council might be more inclined to say, oh, we'll fund the 200,000 every year.
Right.
it's not,
Well-
I don't think so, because that's actually what they don't want to fund is the 200,000. They'd rather pay the 2 million up front if you could find someone that wants to give you do endowment or do a naming right that'll cut a check for 50 grand every year for the next 10 years to make it be the.
Well, like, for our purposes here in this meeting, do we just talk about this stuff, go home, all lather up about it, and that's it? Or do we have any way to decide amongst ourselves if we want to say anything to the council, encourage them to do anything in particular about this, get more citizen input, let citizens vote on 2 separate bond issues, which sounds unwieldy and not possible. But what I would hate to do is lose the real opportunity to include some of the pool by virtue of the fact that we are too skittish to do it right now because it would take a lot of work to do. And I don't know, what do you guys think?
It made me, my impression was that the city took a lot of input on this project from the start, from the questionnaire. We got record turnouts on those questionnaires about the pool. I attended several meetings. There were good turnouts with some very passionate people. And even at the council meeting when they voted, there were some passions pushing for an indoor pool. But I mean, the council from what I gathered, the council took all the information out there, discussed it back and forth several times, and then the vote just went one way. And that's, I think that's kind of how, I mean, we talk about letting people put their input in, but I think that was done. I think, honestly, I think they didn't, now, if some people that are passionate about it could speak louder and more frequently now, sure, but I think they took all the input that they could in the timeframe. Again, they were pushing to get this on a ballot so that we can move ahead with this project. So there was a time limit to get it done, and they discussed it and thought about it and got the input, and I think they made their decision. If we as a group then, like you said, want to go to them and say, all right, that bond issue's done, now let's do another one. And we recommend doing another one because we are hearing from these people that we wanted it. Well, I think that's a, like I said, a separate issue, and the next thing we can do, for sure. That's what we felt.
And I'll say you're gonna have 3 years before you see a new pool to start with, period. So if it's bond issues approved next April, you're still gonna be 2024 and 2025 pool seasons what we have. So we won't even start construction until August of 25. So if we're looking at it and designing it for that option is still there, and finances
Materialize.
come back and materialize, then there would certainly be. I don't think we're shutting the door on anything right now, and you've got 3 years before a new facility's built, so I think there's still time there.
That's a really good expression.
If the,
Thank you for saying that we're not shutting the door.
if use tax goes up, if we get a dispensary that comes to town and we start pulling in fat marijuana tax or something like that, and there's something else there, or the residents pass the pool bond issue at 95% and overwhelmingly say, we want this, and, take a look at it again, then I think there's the option for sure to go back on a secondary bond issue and ask that question again. I think from what I understand, it's just tough to do it at the same time.
Yeah.
I think the positive thing for people that do want it is that it's still an option to build it, and that 2 council members are in favor of it. So it's really just swaying a couple more people.
Well, I'll shut up, but I do have to tell you guys a really fast little story. We've always had an extraordinary pool here. The very first rectangular pool was built by my grandfather, who was the construction supervisor on it.
Yeah.
And he built it Olympic size plus 1/4 of an inch, so that if anybody ever broke an Olympic record in that original rectangular pool, there would be no doubt that they'd actually broken the record because they swam 1/4 inch longer than they were required. And then when we put in this spectacular thing, we were kind of the first in the area to do it.
Yeah.
And kind of way before De Pere, way before Kirkwood, and we were sort of front runners. And so it'd be kind of cool to really continue with that tradition of but nobody really knows about the 1/4 inch thing.
That's pretty
But
fun.
still,
Yeah.
yeah, it was kind of fun. It was a family lore story.
To
Yeah.
kind of piggyback on that, when you're talking about the design of the pool, I was just recently at Raging Rivers out in Grafton.
Yep.
And I don't know how successful they are, but one of their revenue streams for their pool are the cabana areas. So are those in plans to have some reservable cabanas? I mean, I can't think of a better way to start getting a little bit extra squeezed.
I
out.
want them, yes.
Yeah.
I think there would be a good demand for them. I don't think we price them as high as Grafton does.
No.
But $10, yeah, $10 or
exactly.
$20 an hour. If you had 10 of them out there that you could
Or a half
reserve.
day or a full day or whatever, yeah. you bring
Yeah,
the
so
price points down.
I'm a pasty white kid. I would pay that in a heartbeat. Yes.
My asking of you is
Yeah.
please push for that. Continue
Yeah.
to push for that, and anything else you think of revenue stream wise.
It's definitely something that I've already been looking at. And I went to an aquatics conference last year, and that was one of the things I was really searching for was the types of cabanas that you can do that with. If you've ever been to a resort pool, Vegas pool, or something like that, a lot of those places have those. Couple couches, maybe a TV. Maybe we even have concession service go to it or whatever.
Just have it delivered, an app in for concessions.
Right,
have it
so,
delivered.
yes, I'm definitely looking at that, I think it would be a good revenue stream. It's not gonna be tons of money, but if it's $50,000 over the course of the 100-day pool season,
Yeah.
you know, because you had 10 of those that got rented.
Teenagers these days do Uber Eats, so they know how to use
Yeah.
an app and get food.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's enough families here that might consider, all right, yes, we do have memberships already, but wouldn't it be nice if we went to the pool that is shoulder to shoulder and if we had that private shade?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Or whatever.
Yeah, or I know that I can show up at 2 o'clock on Saturday and I've got a spot with chairs that I can sit on. I don't have to get there, you know, at 9:45 before it opens at 10 to make sure I've got
Shade.
a shade and a chair to sit in. Yeah, I definitely think it's a fantastic idea.
When we opened up the pool to outside of Webster, how much additional revenue did that produce?
A significant amount. I don't have that number off the top of my head. The daily admissions certainly went up, probably to the, I would say to the tune of $30,000 a year, something like that on daily admissions. We did see a little bit of a decrease in annual memberships. I'm not saying those two things are combined. That also happened right around the COVID time period, so we lost annual memberships across the whole facility. But in general, the aquatic revenue last year was the highest aquatic revenue that we've ever produced. Now that's on the backs of a couple of years worth of fee increases in regards to wage increasing, so we raised some of those daily admissions and rates, but certainly the openness to anybody to be able to come produced an extra probably 30,000 off the top of my head.
In the indoor pool, took that into consideration that not only, you know, we probably see that multiply out if.
Yeah, so the consultant ran the numbers that they use. They've got a proprietary system, software system that they factor in. I think they had something like 265 data points or something like that that goes into their proprietary system and can then spit out your expenses and your revenue on how many square feet of water surface you have, how much you can then rent for lap lanes, how many lap lanes you'll have, and what it'll cost for utilities and lifeguards and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, they did a pretty thorough job of running those numbers. I'm as confident as I can be in those numbers, being 3 years out from actually building a pool, you know, but what the market conditions might change in those 3 years. They already did. I've been looking at this pool project for probably 9 years now, and 6 million was our number up until COVID, and now we're at 11 million for the exact same pool. So I mean, it doubled almost because of the COVID inflation and slowdown of everything else. The pricing of this crazy world we live in, which stinks. So, and unfortunately, I don't see that going back down. I mean, even if inflation stops running rampant, I don't see the prices compressing on most of this stuff ever, unfortunately.
I think that's just the heartbreaking thing. And when you said Webster was always doing something innovative and new, and now people are hearing, oh, replace kind, great. So, you know, we're not gonna get torn up on the cement, but we're gonna have the same pool we've had for the last 20 years.
I wouldn't say
Yeah.
that for sure. I mean, I'm looking to definitely make it better and nicer than it is now, but we won't, you know, when we put out the options, originally we had told them $6 million. That was kind of our touch point. And they came back with like a 6, an 8, and a 10, and none of those touched what we have now, which was a shock. That wasn't what I was anticipating. So you'll have more than one slide. You'll have multiple slides. There'll be some other pool play features. I anticipated, you know, cabanas or something like that. So I don't think you'll walk out there 3 years from now and it'll look like it looks now, just without cracks in the concrete. But
No wave pool.
I was exaggerating a little bit.
I know, I understand. Probably no wave pool.
Just a swankier version of what we have now.
But you're right, swankier version of what we have now with all new updated cooler toys. But yeah, you're still gonna be driving an Ford F-150 if you got a Ford F-150.
Well, and
Before.
it sounds to me like the use will be the same. It'll look better, function better, be better, But like the cabana idea
Yeah.
actually changes the use.
Yeah.
You know, you have people who have something really, really nice
Right.
and, you know, that they can avail themselves of, so.
Or even if you've been to some of the other pools, like, Manchester, if you've been to their pool for a swim meet, if any of your kids are swim meeters, they've got the like stadium seats beside the competition pool. It doesn't sound like much, it's just concrete steps, but makes a huge difference if you're gonna go try to watch a swim meet, because now you're stadium seating, you're not, 500 parents all doing one of these to get around to see if your kid's drowning or making it. Yeah, so something like that, it's a kind of a no-brainer, but it'll make it be much nicer, hopefully. I hope, otherwise I won't have a job. So I'm excited about it, so. Any other questions, pool related? A couple other things. Ivy Crockett Park Pavilion was demoed about 2 weeks ago, and I thought it would already be put back together. But they're supposed to be coming back next week to start construction of that new pavilion. We do have playgrounds finally on the way too. So Ivy Crockett will be getting a new playground piece, kind of a web climber, similar to the playground that's in Glen Park. Not like that. That one's $160,000 for just that playground, but that kind of rope climber web structure. The Deer Creek playground will be replaced, and Blackburn Park's playground will be replaced. So those are all happening this fall. It's been a long time coming. Those have been on order for more than a year. Another one of those COVID sunshine slowdowns. Can't figure out why, but it's happening. We have ordered a new playground for out here at Memorial Park, because that one's currently closed because the slide is broken and you pinch your butt anytime you try to slide down it. We're probably actually going to pull that playground out. It's been fenced for a while, and we're still having kids crawl over the fence and use it. So we're probably just going to have staff take that down here soon. But that one's been ordered. So there are a lot of cool things happening in the parks coming this fall. Pool season so far is going really well for us. We got 2 more weekends. We are only open Friday, Saturday, Sunday right now. So we have had a few grumpy folks coming in and complaining that they can't swim Monday through Friday. We posted it. It's been that way for 2 years now, but it is still new for some folks. We encourage them to get a lifeguard certification if they want to help us out. Doesn't really work. Fall winter brochure is going to the printer end of the week and will be available early, probably first week of September. Pretty excited about that. We've got new program staff now. We've had some turnover, so we got some pretty good programs coming in that I'm pretty excited about for all age divisions. I even put a program in, which I haven't put a program in a brochure myself in quite some time. So look out for escape room night or weekend. We're going to run a little escape room based on the classic board game Clue. So that'll be a Friday night, Saturday, 25-30 minute worth of escape room for family friendly.
That's all here. In this facility.
That'll be over in the meeting room. Jeff will set it up over there. It'll be family friendly, so you can bring, I think we said up to 8 people could be in your party. That'd be pretty reasonable. Like, we haven't set a price. We're still working out some details on that one, but maybe $40 for the whole family to come. It's usually $25 a person if you would do one of those. I think they're super fun. So I hope I can recreate it and make it super fun for other folks. I came up with a bunch of clues and my staff told me they were too hard. So that's what I thought. So we'll have some hard ones and some not so hard ones. And not everybody's going to escape. I mean, that's part of the fun. Some people don't make it.
That's
So, but yeah, look forward to that. There's a bunch of new kids programs, some more senior trips that we're trying to put in again. We haven't had any of those for the last couple of years with COVID and such. So excited about that. Any other questions? That's all I have for you.
On the fall catalogs coming out.
Yep.
Is this normal to come out this time of year? Is it starts?
Yeah, we do 2 of them a year. So we do a fall, winter, and we do a spring, summer. We're probably a week or 2 later than normal this time. We're switching up formats. Mickey used to do it, and she used a software that we no longer have access to. It was a legacy software on her computer, so we're doing it differently. We skinnied it down. We'll still have all the information because you can register for everything online through our Civic Rec software. So we're making it less wordy. We cut it from 32 to 20 pages, so we'll save some money in printing and such too. But we'll still have as many things in there, just less verbiage on all of them. So yeah, it's about the same time, but it's a little later. But normally programs start the second week of September, once school gets back in this session.
Okay. So, yeah, my thought was that I'm an avid softball player, so I watch the scheduling of things that come out, and then, I just started getting notifications a month and a half ago about make sure you're registering for small softballs and things like that. Like, well, are we do we have that stuff published ahead of time for those fall activities, or, because right now it just seems a little late for planning for September.
Yeah. We're a little slower. It normally goes to print about the 1st of August instead of the end of August. And it's usually ready by about the 2nd or 3rd week of August, but so we're about 2 weeks behind.
Okay.
That yoga studio that you're gonna do, like build out is that still in the works or still?
So the grand plan is still there. Fitness has not rebounded to the level where I would probably be comfortable putting that in right now. We gave that grant money back. Well, we never actually got the money, but we were awarded a grant for that, and we returned that grant so it didn't count against us in the future, because that grant is based on how much money you receive per capita in relation to all the other communities that can apply for that same municipal park grant. So yeah, it's still there. If our fitness, and it's certainly coming back. Classes are getting better. We've got some new fitness classes coming this fall and winter, with some new instructors, and getting rid of a couple that just haven't been going at all. So if we can get those to pump back up a little bit, we could certainly put that application in. The next 2 grant cycles I actually have dedicated to the pool, because they're $500,000 grants. So I've got $1 million going towards the pool project to reduce that bond issue for that. So it wouldn't be until I'll apply 24, 25 for the pool grants. It wouldn't be till 27 that I'd be able to reapply for that grant again. And hopefully by that point we'll be banging again in fitness. I would love to have it. I think it would be a great benefit for the facility for both fitness classes and open up the meeting rooms where we have fitness classes now to be able to have other meetings or a larger space to do weddings and trivia and things like that in there. Trivia is one of the other things that's going to be a brochure. We're doing a trivia night this year. So,
Quick question on your finishing. How's the morale in the department? And I know with all the cuts and COVID and double whammies and everything, you've said before, it's been rough. And, I chat out people and hear how they're doing. How do you think it is? And is there anything we can do as a commission to support the staff?
give them kudos not to me, but if you see folks, if you see a parks guy out weeding a bed, just say, hey man, it looks great. Front desk staff or fitness staff, thanks for being here and changing the TV for me. I think that really goes a long way for the staff that's out there working. Morale's, we're pretty good. The city took care of us this year, the employees, with pretty decent raises. We got a 4% cost of living increase, which is higher than we've ever gotten in my 10-year career here. So that was certainly nice. That helped. It is a struggle with having less people to do kind of the same amount of work. We've reduced some of our workload, especially out in parks, and we're still just trying to reduce some of that other stuff. But we're getting beat up on some of that stuff that we're reducing, with the mowing load. And even if it's not park stuff, if it's along the highway or this and that, which, somebody's got to take care of it, but it's not really Parks and Recreation necessarily. It could be St. Louis County, or it could be MoDOT, or it could be whoever, but if it's something that we did it for years and now we're not, people are seeing it, And sometimes they let us know that it's not good enough. And that weighs on staff sometimes because, my staff is really trying to do a good job. They're all professionals and, most of them aren't just here collecting paychecks. A lot of them, we have more Webster residents in my department than any other department in the city, probably more than the rest of the city combined, really. We have quite a few of our park staff are Webster residents. So they take a lot of pride in their job and what they're doing. So, and they've built a lot of this stuff up and they want to be able to continue to maintain it the way they have. And we just having to operate a little bit differently, which is not bad. Some of the stuff we shouldn't have been doing, quite frankly, mowing personal property or mowing railroad property. We shouldn't really be mowing railroad property. The railroad should, but if you ever worked with the railroad, they're never going to. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. I would encourage, if you think someone's doing a good job, to just give them that pat on the back and really go. I mean, I'm sure you experienced it at your own job. And if your boss says, "Hey, good job on that project," just that goes more than getting a cupcake at the annual barbecue luncheon or whatever goes. So at least in my opinion.
But I think I probably speak for all of us, if there's any advocacy or more formal appreciation, I think we think that.
Yeah, I think it's really nice that you asked that. It's important.
Yeah.
The other thing I'd say is if you think we're doing a good job and someone's on the community connect or some other social media saying that we're doing a terrible
Light it
job,
up.
feel free to let them know that you got the right information if they're giving bad information. I don't want you to get fights on social media. I don't even get on there and read it myself, but that sometimes things are said on there that just aren't true. And if you have the right information, feel free to say, I'm on the Parks and Rec Commission, and I think the actual information of that is might be this.
Mike does it all the time.
Yeah.
I have been known
Yeah,
to correct somebody online.
It,
Under an alien?
No, but and not necessarily correct, but like you said, they were talking about the water feature at the Southwest. And I said, well, we just talked about that in the meeting and it's gonna be replaced. And then I had to edit that and say, hold on, nobody's tearing out what's there and whatnot, but the pump itself will be replaced to bring it back to the functionality that was already there. People like knowing things. I mean, not everybody's available to come meet to these meetings.
Sure.
Honestly, I've made more meetings this month as a community member than ever before. I just, you watch one or two on YouTube and now YouTube, you're in your algorithm. So every time there's a new city meeting of some sort of business district, the whatever commission, it pops up in my YouTube feed and I'm like, I got an hour to kill. Let's find out what this is going on and what that's going on. So I learned about the benches in Old Webster, and I'm sure you heard a lot about that.
I was there yesterday for that meeting, yes.
For that meeting, okay. So, yeah. People like to know what's going on. They like to be informed, even if it comes in a comment section of Facebook.
I agree, and sometimes I struggle with where to put that information out. So that it can get out there to the community, because I'm not going to go post on somebody else's post on Facebook, so we can put that information out on our own website and our own Facebook pages, but not everybody likes those pages or goes and visits those pages. So
I think that happened. That was part of the issue with the no-mow season, is that some people just didn't have information. I mean, at one point in time, I know you put out something that said, specifically, if you're weed eating all year long and putting, if you're spending the rest of the year taking care of that grass to make sure there's no weeds in it, continue to do so. Don't take the 1 month off to let it grow, because you're negating the work you put into it. But if you're the type that doesn't care and wants to let those, and you have those active weeds, then go right ahead and do so. And I think people were like, why can't I mow this month? Nobody told you you couldn't. So I think a lot of people just that knee-jerk reaction on what happens. And a lot of it's ill-informed.
there is another something like NOMO coming out this fall through Green Space. That'll be the leaves. So we'll see how that one goes too.
That one hurts a little more.
So the benefits of leaving those leaves can be that they improves, puts that nutrients back into the soil, and also allows the the native creatures habitat to overwinter in. But again, You know, if you choose to rake your leaves, rake your leaves. If you choose to leave leaves in your beds, but rake your lawns, that's fine. If you choose to leave the leaves everywhere, that's also fine. So that's a new campaign that'll be coming out with more information from another commission here over the next month or so.
All right,
They do disintegrate.
sorry.
They do disintegrate. I've left them before. It wasn't.
We have like a postage size front lawn, but two huge oak trees.
Oh, yeah.
That are
Oh,
like
it's just
60
crazy.
feet tall, so
Right, yeah,
if
right.
I left them.
Even if
it'd be
it's
like a
just mulched over and over and over again, there's only so much.
That's what I do. I just keep mowing that like every 3 days because I'm quite frankly too lazy to rake them. And it does break down and improve the soil quality eventually. But if you miss it, if you miss that 3 day window, then you're bagging because you can't get it all done at once. So
Yeah, that is true. I did know that. And I did not break.
Yeah.
They're open along the sides.
All right, I'll make a motion to set the next meeting for October 25th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, meeting set. Any other comments before I move to adjourn? All right, I'll move to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting adjourned.
I have a comment I should have made before you adjourned, but thank you. You guys are awesome. I appreciate your help.
You too.